The Little Big Heaven. For all these days, my world was full of multicolor rattles and tiny toys, always being carried in the arms of my mom and dad. I have been enjoying a flying bird's view of all the objects in my house. Whenever I wanted a ride, I just had to cry. I felt so cozy in their arms. It was a heaven for me. One day, my parents brought home a pram, a baby stroller. From then, whenever we went out, they put me in that uncomfortable thing. I did not like it. I started screaming and somehow managed my way back to their arms. I loved the warmth of my parents' arms. Resting my head on their shoulders, I felt so secured and loved. In the shopping mall, I found few like me who were kept in pram. I felt sad for them. Maybe they were unsuccessful in conveying their unhappiness to their parents. Few days later, I learned to sit on my own. It was nice. I sat and played. I was gifted a high chair to sit and enjoy my food servings. Whenever I wanted to jump out of it, I would either raise my hands up or make some noise. My mom or dad would pick me up and I would get back to my heaven. Few weeks later, I mastered the art of crawling on my knees. My world started to appear a bit different. All these days, I mostly enjoyed the top view. All of a sudden, the table now appears to be gigantic, with a scary dark space underneath. Now it's impossible to get a glimpse of what was kept on top of it. I stopped my journey after 4 steps. I made a noise as usual to get back to my heaven. Instead of picking me up, my mother moved further away from me and opening her both arms, she smilingly waved her arms, motivating me to crawl and reach up to her. My heart broke. How do I tell her that this new view of objects was so dark and dull? I cried and crawled and somehow managed to get back to her arms. My way to heaven seems to get a little tough now. The next day, as I crawled near a small table, I hit my head. It didn't hurt me, but that collision sure made a noise. Both my dad and mom came running towards me at once, and my dad picked me up. They looked at my forehead and checked if I was hurt. I smiled because I had reached my heaven, my dad's arms. They were happy to see me safe. A kiss on my cheek, and I was placed back on the carpet, and my parents continued with their work. I was sad. But then a brilliant idea struck me. Soon I crawled back to the table and I hit my head once again. I looked back to see my angels. My mom came running, but this time she didn't pick me. She picked the small table instead and placed it somewhere in another room. Eventually, my idea to reach my heaven failed terribly. As I sat there wondering what to do next, the doorbell rang. My dad came and opened the door. He collected a parcel and went inside. I noticed something interesting. The door was left half open, sun rays peeping inside. The best part on my world on knees was that I could go wherever I wished to. Freedom, that appears to be a beautiful feeling. I crawled towards the door. About 4 steps beyond the front door, there I saw a small step leading to the walkway and the garden. A bit scary, but carefully I climbed down and moved towards the garden. It was the first time going to the garden on my own. Our garden was a beautiful place with lush green grass, flowers, and small birds flying around. I was blissfully happy. Soon, my dad came running and picked me up. He held me tight and kissed me. He rushed inside and spoke to my mother, holding her responsible for me going out. They both started talking at the top of their voice. They never smiled. Even though I was in my heaven, my dad's arms, I felt frightened. I was only familiar with my parents smiling. I couldn't help crying aloud. Soon they tried to pacify me, but my fear didn't subside. My heaven was now appearing to be more like hell. My father hugged me tight. I now realized that my heaven wasn't being in their arms alone. My parents made my world. My world was heaven when they loved each other. Else, it was nothing less than hell. As I laid weeping on my dad's shoulder, I could see the front door was still kept open. I couldn't help a smile. I whispered, "Wait, stay open. I am coming."